It was Halloween night. The streets were alive with glowing jack-o'-lanterns, children running in costumes, and the crisp autumn air buzzing with excitement. Among them was 12-year-old Kayden, wearing a simple ghost mask, clutching his pumpkin-shaped candy bag. Excited, happy, and ready for a night of fun. But then, from the shadows of a quieter street, 3 men appeared: Derek, Trevor, and Brandon. Bigger, older, and full of malice, they circled him like predators. Their laughter cut through the night, sharp and cruel. And before Kayden could even react, the nightmare began. They mocked him. They threatened him. They told him he didn't even need a mask to scare anyone. And Kayden, a small boy in a simple costume, had no idea what he was about to unleash. What happens next will shock you, and it's not what anyone expected. The day had started like any other, but for 12-year-old Kayden, it felt magical. Sunlight streamed through the windows, painting golden patterns across the floor. The air carried that crisp autumn chill that makes you want to put on your favorite jacket and run outside. Kayden bounced around the living room, backpack slung over one shoulder, unable to sit still. "Mom, Dad, can we go get my costume now?" He shouted, excitement bubbling in every word. His mother laughed, smoothing his hair. "All right, Pumpkin," she said, smiling. "But remember to behave today." His father crouched down, adjusting the straps on Kayden's backpack. "Whatever costume you want, buddy. It's your day. Make it epic." The drive to the costume store was filled with laughter. Kayden jabbed his dad in the ribs at the sight of inflatable witches dangling from storefronts. His mom hummed a Halloween tune she had secretly prepared, the car vibrating with the energy of their little family adventure. Outside, the streets were alive. Pumpkins perched on porches. Fake spider webs clung to windows and kids in costumes darted across sidewalks, squealing and laughing. Inside the store, Kayden's eyes widened. Racks upon racks of costumes stretched in every direction. Superheroes, witches, vampires, zombies, and more. He explored each aisle with wide-eyed wonder, finally stopping at the ghost masks. Simple, comfortable, and perfect. He picked one up, holding it against his face and giggling. "Mom, Dad, this is perfect!" His parents helped him choose a pumpkin-shaped candy bag and glow-in-the-dark skeleton gloves. They laughed as Kayden twirled around, pretending to float like a ghost, the fabric of his costume brushing against the floor. In that moment, everything felt perfect. Warmth, family, joy, and the simple magic of Halloween morning. Little did Kayden know, by nightfall, this perfect day would lead him straight into a shadow he could never have imagined. As evening fell, the streets transformed into a world of magic and mischief. Orange light spilled from jack-o'-lanterns on every doorstep, casting flickering shadows across the sidewalks. Children in costumes ran in every direction, superheroes racing past witches, vampires darting alongside tiny ghosts. Laughter and excited squeals filled the air, blending with the distant rustle of autumn leaves underfoot. Kayden moved carefully through the crowd, his ghost mask in place, letting out playful wails that made younger children jump and giggle. He floated from house to house, stopping at doorsteps, holding out his pumpkin bag as neighbors dropped candy inside. With each step, his excitement grew. He was part of the Halloween magic, fully immersed in the energy of the night. His parents followed a few steps behind, watching him with pride. His mother's eyes sparkled as she whispered, "Look at him. He's having the time of his life." His father nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. They exchanged glances, quietly sharing the joy of seeing their son so happy and carefree. Kayden practiced his ghostly sounds as he walked, twirling slightly to make the fabric of his costume flutter, imagining himself floating through a haunted mansion. Each stop at a house brought new delight. Candy wrappers crinkled in his hand, neighbors complimented his simple costume, and the laughter of other children added to the thrill. For a moment, the world felt perfect, a night of candy, costumes, and pure Halloween magic. But as he turned down a quieter street, away from the bustling main roads, a chill ran down his spine. The laughter faded, the shadows seemed longer, and in that silence, Kayden's magical Halloween night was about to take an unexpected, darker turn. Kayden turned down a narrow, quieter street. the glow of the main block fading behind him. The laughter of other children was replaced by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hum of streetlights. He adjusted his ghost mask nervously, clutching his pumpkin-shaped candy bag a little tighter. That's when he noticed them. 3 figures leaning against a fence, their silhouettes sharp against the dim light. Derek, Trevor, and Brandon. Older, taller, and radiating a sense of intimidation, they were the kind of people who made the air feel heavy. Their eyes locked onto Kayden immediately, sizing him up as if he were prey. "Hey, kid," Derek called, his voice low and mocking. "Do you really need that mask to scare anyone?" Kayden froze. His small frame tensed, heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. His fingers tightened around the candy bag. I'm just trick-or-treating," he stammered, trying to sound braver than he felt. Trevor stepped closer, a smirk curling his lips. "Trick-or-treating? Man, that mask doesn't even hide how pathetic you look." Brandon crossed his arms, chuckling. Look at him, trembling already. Pathetic. Fear clawed at Kayden's chest. He wanted to run, to disappear into the night, to be back with his parents where he felt safe. But somewhere deep inside, he remembered what his mom and dad had always told him. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's facing it. He took a shaky breath, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm not scared of you." The 3 men laughed, leaning in, their shadows looming over him. Kayden's knees trembled. His small size made him feel even more vulnerable under their gaze. Yet his mind raced, trying to find the words that could stop them without escalating things further. Every muscle in his body screamed to flee, but he planted his feet and squared his shoulders as best he could. Derek leaned closer, sneering. "You think your little words scare us, huh? Maybe you don't even need that mask to look ridiculous." Kayden's thoughts swirled. "I can't let them win. I have to do something. But what? I'm just a kid." His trembling voice betrayed him, but he forced himself to speak again, firmer this time. "Leave me alone." The bullies exchanged amused glances, clearly enjoying his fear. They reached for his candy bag, trying to snatch it from his hands. Kayden's heart pounded faster. His small fingers dug into the fabric. He was terrified, but he refused to let them take everything he had worked for tonight. In that moment, Kayden realized something. Standing up didn't mean he had to be fearless. It just meant refusing to let fear control him. He straightened, took a deep breath, and prepared for what he was about to do next. A move that would change everything. Kayden's heart pounded, his small hands gripping the candy bag tightly. The 3 men leaned in, smirking, enjoying the fear they had caused. His mind raced. He knew he had to do something. But what could a 12-year-old possibly do against 3 grown men? Then a thought struck him. The truth. The one fact they had no idea about. And it was enough to shift the balance in an instant. "I'm Kayden Harper," he said, his voice trembling at first but growing steadier. "My father is a billionaire." For a moment, silence. Derek, Trevor, and Brandon froze, disbelief flashing across their faces. The casual confidence they had carried so arrogantly all night faltered. They had underestimated him completely. "Wait, what?" Derek stammered, his bravado cracking. You're... Kayden's gaze met each of theirs, steady and unwavering. "This isn't about money," he said firmly. "It's about respect, and I won't let you bully me." Suddenly, the shadows that had felt so threatening moments ago seemed less intimidating. The bullies hesitated, unsure, realizing they had picked the wrong target. For the first time, Kayden felt a surge of control. A small boy with a ghost mask, standing tall against the threat that had once seemed unstoppable. In that quiet moment, the dynamic had changed. The predator was no longer in full control. Kayden had found his voice, and it was enough to make even the biggest bullies pause, reconsider, and take a step back. The night, once full of fear, had shifted. Kayden's courage had begun to tip the scales, and the next moments would decide just how far his stand would go. Kayden returned to his parents, heart still racing, hands shaking slightly from the encounter. His mother wrapped him in a tight hug, whispering, "Oh, Kayden, I'm so proud of you." His father nodded solemnly, eyes filled with resolve. "We're going to make sure this is handled properly. No one should ever intimidate you or any child like this." The Harpers contacted the local authorities immediately. They recounted every detail: the mocking, the threats, the attempt to steal Kayden's candy, and the intimidation. Witnesses from nearby houses came forward, confirming the events. Security cameras in the area captured parts of the encounter. Social media began to buzz as neighbors shared the story. Shocked that a small boy had faced such brazen intimidation and stood his ground, Derek, Trevor, and Brandon began to realize the gravity of the situation. What they had assumed would be a harmless scare had turned into a documented case of harassment against a minor. Their confidence faltered, whispers of excuses and disbelief passing between them as the law started to close in. Kayden, though shaken, felt a strange sense of calm. He had stood up to fear that night, and the truth had given him power. It wasn't just about his father's wealth, it was about courage, right, and accountability. The bullies had underestimated him, and now they would have to face consequences, both legally and socially, for the first time in their lives. The neighborhood buzzed with a mix of shock and admiration. Parents whispered about what had happened. Children shared the story at other houses, and as word spread, Kayden's bravery became more than a personal triumph. It was a lesson to everyone watching that courage can come from the most unexpected places. The courtroom was tense, silent except for the occasional shuffle of papers and the soft murmur of whispered conversations. Kayden sat on the edge of his seat, small and composed, dressed neatly, the ghost mask now tucked away, but the memory of the night vivid in his mind. Across the aisle, Derek, Trevor, and Brandon shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Their earlier arrogance had vanished. The once confident bullies now appeared exposed, their eyes darting nervously as they realized the magnitude of the consequences they faced. The judge entered, the room falling completely silent. Cameras flashed in the back as reporters jotted notes furiously, capturing the story that had already gone viral. Kayden was called to the stand. He rose, his hands slightly trembling, but his voice was clear and steady as he began recounting the events of that Halloween night. On the night of October 31st, Kayden said, "I was walking through my neighborhood, celebrating Halloween when Derek, Trevor, and Brandon approached me. They mocked me, threatened me, and tried to take my candy. I was scared and humiliated. I did nothing to provoke them. I simply wanted to enjoy Halloween." He paused, letting the words sink in, then continued. "I am Kayden Harper. My father is a billionaire, but this isn't about wealth. This is about standing up for yourself and making sure no one else suffers like this." The bullies' faces drained of color. The courtroom seemed to hold its breath. Every word Kayden spoke carried weight, courage, and truth. The judge listened intently, nodding slowly, the gravity of the situation clear in every line of their face. Finally, the judge addressed Derek, Trevor, and Brandon. "Harassment and intimidation of a minor will not be tolerated. You are hereby held accountable for your actions." The words hung heavy in the room. The bullies had assumed Halloween would be harmless fun, but they had underestimated the courage of a 12-year-old boy. Outside the courthouse, the story spread even further. Clips of Kayden speaking calmly and assertively went viral. People were inspired by the bravery of a boy who had faced fear, stood up for himself, and demanded justice. The balance had shifted, and the small ghost mask had become a symbol of courage and resilience. With the courthouse behind him, Kayden returned home. The streets were quiet now, the glow of jack-o'-lanterns casting soft light on the sidewalks. But the fear that had once gripped him that night had been replaced with pride and calm. He had faced something terrifying and come out stronger. His parents hugged him tightly. "You were brave, Kayden," his mother whispered. His father nodded, eyes shining. "Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about standing up, even when you're scared." Halloween had given him more than candy or costumes. It had given him a story of bravery, resilience, and the power of truth. Even the smallest voice, spoken with courage, can make the loudest impact. And so, under the glow of the autumn night, Kayden walked home with his parents by his side. A boy who had transformed fear into strength, and who would never forget the night he became more than just a child in a ghost mask. If Kayden's story inspired you, hit that like button and share it with your friends. Comment below. What would you have done if you were in his shoes? And don't forget to subscribe for more shocking and true stories that will leave you speechless. Your support helps us bring more incredible stories to life.